Hello and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor Russ Stevens and Uncle Joe McLaughlin. Hopefully, JP's first son, Tim Hoey, gets his butt in line and comes on the show very soon. Well, boys, we have a great show for you tonight. So let's get it started. We have to start with Major League Baseball. I always
we have to.
We have to.
Does anything happen there?
Would you agree, guys, in the 8 years we've been doing this show, I always felt like we were a baseball show first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the Grandstanders. That's why we're named that. As you all know, we have season tickets in the Grandstand, now Section 30 at Fenway Park since all of us 2003, right, Russ? I think you came in 3.
Yeah, 2003, second half of 2003.
So it's going to coming up on 20 years.
Yeah.
Look, baseball needs to play, right? Baseball's in trouble, and it looks like they're not going to come to a deal. That part of the season right now is in jeopardy. What's up, guys?
Baseball is making it very, very hard for us to love it. Very hard and very easy.
And when they do come around and they open it up, there'll be so much activity, in like a matter of a week. All these free agents, there's 40, 50 of them out there. I'm sure there's been backdoor deals with all these agents. Things will happen fast and furious, but it'll be just a blip on the radar because by that time it'll probably, we're thinking playoffs for hockey and basketball.
Look, their window is closed, right? So they're supposed to be after the Super Bowl and before March Madness. They start in spring training. The buzz starts to build. Yeah. Now their problem is if they come back, they're going to be either coming back into March Madness, the NFL draft, the NHL playoffs, the NBA playoffs, and guess what?
Back page.
Right.
I know, right? And the NFL free agency, which is huge. Right. I mean, that takes up, nothing was bigger. It was like a holiday those first 2 days when the Patriots signed all those players. It didn't matter. Fenway Park could have burned down to the ground. No one would have noticed in those 2 days. We talk about baseball and the young people that were at Fenway Park. Do they just move on?
No, well, maybe the good news is that the young people probably are not as passionate and pissed off as we are about it, right? Meaning those young people thought it was a fun thing to do. They were
a night out
to watch. It was a night out. It was a lot of fun. They were good. They were winning. They're probably not looking at this thing saying, here's baseball breaking our heart again.
Right. Look, could if baseball doesn't happen this year, could some teams fold?
No.
I don't know, Joe. You probably know that better than
No,
me.
I wouldn't think so. There's so many of those welfare organizations in MLB that just exist to get their share of the revenue sharing money, and they make money doing that. The Kansas Cities, the Minnesotas, and they never put a dime into the organization.
Well, baseball, the players usually hold pat pretty tight. They're not like the football players who cave in immediately. Who caves in first, the owners or the players?
Geez, you know what, Scotty? I don't know. Probably the players. The players. I mean, look, Kansas City Royals. I bet you almost every team in Major League Baseball is worth $1 billion. Like I just looked up, Kansas City Royals are worth over $1 billion.
Yeah.
So that team doesn't need to fold anytime. That team, so long as there's a league, I could imagine that team hanging on for a long time. I think the players, it could get just starved out.
Joe?
Yeah, the owners make plenty of money just on the deals that are in place now. And Kansas City's payroll or Tampa Bay's payroll is just nothing. It's the salary of one person on the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Dodgers.
Well, if baseball doesn't happen, the Worcester Wool Sox will be sold out every night. People will be starved for baseball, and you could.
So they'll still, just to be clear, they'll. This is a kind of a stupid question, but they'll still play, right?
Yes, that's right.
The minor leagues will still play.
Yes, in fact,
well, aren't they professional baseball players also?
No, but they're a different union. They are going to play, and in fact, AAA's increased the amount of games that they're going to play.
Good.
So maybe in preparation for no Red Sox, Worcester Wool Sox will be the hottest ticket in town.
So, Scotty, do we get season tickets? Do our season tickets transfer to Worcester? Can't you do something about that? Call
right. We should call them up, right?
Yeah, you hop right on the Pike right up the top of your street there, Scotty.
Yeah, right. What is it, about a 45-minute ride from Brookline?
Yeah.
How far from Canton?
About the same, not much further, And then, of course, you've
Depends
got
on the
Portland,
traffic on 128.
and you've got Portland covered up at the Summer House. So there you go.
Oh, nothing. I can tell the audience every time Hadlock Field is the greatest baseball experience I've ever had. That's how good. I love the Portland Sea Dogs, and I'd love to be a season ticket holder there. But good luck going to those games in April and May and early September. Oh Lord Almighty!
Below zero.
Oh my God! Forget about it. All right, go to the Celtics. First of all, we go to NBA basketball. That weekend, the NBA weekend, the All-Star game, the
pathetic
slam dunk contest. Wow, when you have like big personalities like Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal saying it's so painful, and they represent the NBA in a wonderful fashion. If they are a pain to do this, how can this continue to exist? And let me finish before you guys speak. When we talk about this, now all of a sudden the Celtics are going to apply to have the NBA All-Star game when it's irrelevant.
Yeah, it's more like a convention for the NBA, a mid-season convention for the NBA where a couple of games break out, but that's about it, right?
Yeah. It used to be a pretty competitive game, Joe.
It did up until a few years ago. And of course, they had that really competitive fourth quarter a couple of years ago that ended up, basically ending Kemba Walker's career because he played 30-something minutes in that game. But this is the last, the Major League Baseball All-Star game is the last of the competitive All-Star games. The rest of them are just, just a bunch of ball washing going on. It's just really bad.
Yeah.
Basketball's terrified of a Pete Rose type situation.
Yeah. Somebody getting hurt. Yeah.
Where one of the marquee players gets hurt. Yeah.
Look, Kemba Walker was never the same. He went into that All-Star break with a sore knee. And he came out with it basically debilitated. His career is basically over. Yeah.
And what was it with Adrian Gonzalez for the Red Sox when he did the home run derby and then he
right. He swung himself out, right.
Totally tapped out.
A lot of guys they say swinging for the fences like that gets them out of their rhythm, and all of a sudden they can't get back in this, get their stroke back.
Well, it was good.
I really don't subscribe to that theory, but
it's good to see all the old Celtics.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was the best part of the weekend. Was the 75th anniversary kind of historical celebration. All that stuff was the best part of it.
Yeah, they got some big names when you're carting out Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson.
Amazing,
right? My God.
Larry Bird.
And too bad. I guess Larry. Obviously, people had COVID concerns like Bill Russell, and they didn't want to go there that weekend, and Larry Bird didn't show up. But Garnett gets his number retired, right? And is that
in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah. The 18th of March, is it?
Yeah.
Well deserved, right? Look, I'm all for it. KG was to me the most exciting Celtics player I've ever seen.
He changed the culture of that franchise, and we're still benefiting from the culture change that KG made. Right after a long time, we didn't expect to win, and we had Paul Pierce, and we still didn't expect to win. And it wasn't until KG came in where our expectation ever since has been, we'll win. And we only had a couple of rough years, and even our rough years weren't that rough.
Yeah, Brad's early years there.
Yeah, but even
gave him an ML podcast.
we made a trip to the playoffs his second year, I think, Joe,
Yeah.
out of the blue and made a run at it. So, I mean, KG changed the culture of it.
It's funny, two of the most storied franchises in sports, the Celtics and the Yankees. The Yankees are retiring Paul O'Neill's number now, and I saw a list. They basically don't have any numbers left. You have to every player is going to be like 40, and
Right.
the Celtics they don't have too many small numbers left.
Right. I heard someone the other day on Twitter had this goofy idea, but it was interesting. Is what if you just used a 0 in front of some of those other numbers, right? So the single digits, you could do 09, 07, and at least give yourself 10 more numbers to play with.
Yeah, right. With Celtics 00.
Right.
Parish. They couldn't even cover that.
But at least a basketball team is fewer numbers to have to carry versus a baseball team.
Oof. Yeah.
How does the Yankees, I hate them like poison, but the Yankees do things that I wish the Red Sox would do. How does Paul O'Neill get his number retired and Dwight Evans?
They want to sell tickets.
Yeah. No Dwight Evans. That's a really good point.
I mean,
I guess Dwight Evans doesn't fit the criteria.
Come on.
You have to be a Hall of Famer.
Who's Johnny Pesky? Where's Johnny Pesky's a Hall of Famer?
He in the Hall of Fame? The old timers? Didn't Williams get him and Doler in?
No. Johnny Pesky used to have to pay for a ticket to get into the Hall of Fame. Come on. All 6 home. I love the guy, spent time with him.
He's the only player to have his number retired by the Red Sox who's not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh. Yeah. Come on. Because he was America's guest. I mean, the guy was the best. I mean, he deserved it. He absolutely deserved it. But so does Dwight Evans.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. And
they need to do it right. And every week we're gonna mention Dwight Evans needs to be in the Hall of Fame. The Grandstanders are gonna make this happen. You guys, are you in here?
You're the cause. I'm in.
All right.
I'm not so in.
What?
I'm not so in. I would like to see Dwight get his number retired. He was a great player, but then at the same time, I do like the exclusivity of it.
Hey, if you retire, didn't Manny have Dwight Evans? Didn't Manny have Dwight Evans' number? Wasn't Manny 24?
Yeah.
Oh, see, there's your twofer.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, right. Are you in now, Joe?
It'd be called. Maybe.
Manny was one of my favorite players.
It would be Dwight Ramirez. I mean, who's against that?
You could have them both there for the ceremony. That'd be quite the thing.
These old-time New Englanders, Russ. You can't get any love out of them. No. I mean, I threw him a layup. Literally, I carried him above the rim and so Uncle Joe dropped the ball into the net, and we win the game.
Nope.
Don't do it. Can you come onto our little cause for our little show?
I'll go along with Russell, bringing Manny along.
That was a joke, a very good joke, Russell. I'm sending bouquets your way, but that wasn't real, Joe. Holy shit. Unbelievable. All right, well, Russ and I have a cause, Joe.
Okay.
You can
maybe Tim will go along.
Talking about it.
If you'll consider JD Martinez, Tim will go along.
JD Martinez.
Weren't we talking about the Celtics a couple minutes ago?
I know. Well, we just got distracted.
Retired numbers with Garnett's number.
Yeah. All right. So it's not really the second half. The Celtics are playing a lot of games.
There's only 22 games left in the schedule.
So what? After the All-Star break, it can definitely change things and play well. Other teams can fail. How do you see the Celtics the last 22 games? We're going into the playoffs, and obviously it looks like they will get there.
Yeah. Look, I think they've got a decent schedule. It's among the top 10 easiest. They seem to be healthy. Both Smart and Time Lord are going to play tomorrow night. They could win. I could see them winning 15 or 16 out of these last 22 games and being close to 50 wins and being a top 4 seed. I think Brooklyn's got a hole to fight out of. The Cavaliers.
Brooklyn's fading fast.
Yeah, I mean, they'll get those
We're
guys.
playing them again tomorrow night with no Simmons.
Yeah.
Obviously, no Harden, no Kyrie, and no KD.
No.
I mean, again.
So, Celtics could make a run. It'd be interesting. I'd love to see them get home court advantage and see what kind of damage they can do. But look, they could also still go out and blow a bunch of games at the end of it, which will make us absolutely crazy.
Kyrie is trying to destroy 2 franchises.
Oh, he's brutal. Poison.
He really. I don't want to be I told you so, but I told you after this last year with the Celtics, it was pretty clear to me that he no longer wanted to play basketball.
I think that's right. I don't think it's that important to him.
Yeah, and he's just screwing around, trying to make sure he gets his check.
Well, the mandate is going to be taken down in a couple of weeks, and then Kyrie will be able to play at home instead of just on the road.
Right.
So he'll be back full time, well rested for sure.
Oh, then he'll come up with some phony injury. You watch his
Right.
He
always does come playoff time.
Yeah, it's a money grab thing with him. Will the Celtics acquire anyone in the buyout or anything, or is this this is the team?
I think this is the team you're looking at. Could be some guys at the margins, but I don't know. Like they go basically 8, or if you include Pritchard, 9 deep. They have a pretty clear rotation, and I prefer that Ime have a pretty clear rotation and just stick to it and get those guys a ton of reps down the stretch.
Udoka, our opinion was of him, well, he doesn't seem to be much of a coach. Was he just kind of a lifetime assistant? But as the games have gone on, he seems to have put his mark on the team.
He's getting a lot out of a lot of different guys.
Yeah.
Getting a lot more out of the 2 Williamses for sure.
Well,
right off the bat.
That's a great point, Joe. And, basically the change, in addition to them, they got healthy, but I think the team really caught up with his system, his switching system. And he made I've been reading a lot about this over the last few days. He made a big strategic switch to basically Rob Williams is playing like free safety on the court right now. He's not up.
He doesn't switch. Yeah.
He's not up playing the pick and roll. He's down near the basket. So these guys know that Rob Williams is going to be around the basket all the time behind them. And it's made a huge difference.
And Brad Stevens, Joe, has been very vocal about Udoka's progress as a coach. And like Russ just said, talking about his defensive plan. So Brad Stevens is very happy because Brad Stevens is the boss now.
Well, and Brad must be happy that finally someone has gotten Marcus to play the way Brad wants Marcus to play too.
Right. That's exactly
another feather in Ime's cap.
And
right
that's what
there.
Brad
Now,
Stevens
if he gets the Jays going, he'll really have something.
Look, Brad Stevens was outspoken saying that he thought that the Celtics needed a black coach. And he thought that they would get, that would be a strong, they needed that voice that he wasn't able to give them. And he was correct. They, like you said, they've been receptive where Marcus Smart was not receptive to Brad Stevens. And it's working out great, and all of a sudden we start talking about the managers and the coaches in this town. That's why if we can clean Bill Belichick and get him the hell out of here, we have good young coaches in Cassidy, Udoka, and scumbag Cora, who I will admit is a good manager, but he's just Alex.
He's coming around.
But that again, if we can just get Belichick out of here. Okay, sweet.
Well, Ime, let's see, right? Like, would I bet my 401k on Marcus not reverting? No. Do I think he turned a corner? Yeah, but I would not bet my 401k, as paltry as it is, on Marcus Smart, holding the line through the playoffs.
Yeah, the other night they reverted to Jason Tatum in the ISO game.
Yeah.
A dozen turnovers rather than getting any points.
Yeah. Now we dinged the Celtics for playing and beating teams that were undermanned. The Celtics had
Right,
did not have two starters the other night. 40% of their starting lineup was gone the other night.
and both of them were big men, and that's where Detroit was killing us in the paint. They were just driving and jamming.
So,
well, like most teams, especially in the NBA, where they have a small roster, you can't afford to lose any star players and expect to win any games.
Yeah, not for long. Yeah, not for long. Not if the other team plays well.
Name one key player of the rotation that needs to up his game for the Celtics to advance deep into the playoffs. One player to up his game.
Yep. Joe, do you want to go first? Or you want me to go?
You go, because I'm torn between two, and I'd like to hear your.
I actually look. I think the obvious answer is Marcus Smart, but my my other answer is Jaylen Brown, who has been good this year, but as I think I wrote to you guys a couple of weeks ago, he commits a disturbing number of turnovers. I mean, his assist to turnover ratio is 1-to-1, and it is among the worst in the NBA on a high usage player, like bottom 10.
Yeah.
And we really need him to clean that up when you play against really, really good. Most teams in the playoffs are good defensive teams.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, he's got a sloppy handle. And I agree, on the face of it, you would think it'd be Marcus Smart, but I think you're getting what you need and what you want out of Marcus Smart right now. Tatum is starting to come around. He's starting to shoot. So I think it's Jalen that's got to make the big step.
Yep.
Up.
I think it's Al Horford. I think that we need to see the Al Horford of early season.
Yep.
Now
I wouldn't mind that. Not at all.
We have players like Rob Williams has developed during the season.
Yeah.
Here comes the acquisition of White. Now we have Tice. So we have players actingly different. We have new players. When Al Horford was playing early on the season, he was at times the best player on the court.
He was terrific the first 20 games. Another guy brings up another, if I had told you before the season started that probably the most reliable, consistent player on this roster this year would be Grant Williams, you'd have been like, go pound sand. That is, you have lost your damn mind. And I got to tell you, not only is he making shots, but losing that weight, his foot speed is much better.
Well, it could only go one way, Russ. Other than he was going
to. And the referees still treat him badly.
I know, but you know what? I'm fine when he's on. I feel comfortable when he's on the floor. I really do.
Of course, because Grant Williams and Brandon Bolden, we've never seen them in the same room together.
That's both are similar players. Mr. Reliable.
Aren't they the same player, Russ? Yeah. Aren't they literally the same player?
They're
not going to go anywhere above and beyond, but you'll get steady Eddie from them.
But also, it's one of those things when they do something, you don't think it counts. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. I mean,
well, they don't defend Grant. They got that corner three.
Yeah, but there's always going to be a player on the court who they don't defend. And what you need to do is, if you're that player, you need to hit 40% of your wide open 3-point shots. And that's exactly what that guy does.
And that's what Al Horford has not been doing.
Has not done that.
Like the last 40 games.
Yeah.
Look, we're a talk show. And what we talk about a lot is what players will do in the off season to improve. And Grant Williams did exactly what we would speculate he would need to do. Yep. And above that, he learned how to shoot from the outside.
Yeah. Well, he was on the brink of being cut before the season. If he hadn't, he probably would have been cut before the season even started.
Wasn't the first 25 3-pointers he ever took?
He was 0 for 25. And then since then, I think he's been over a 40% shooter.
Yeah.
Would you trust Grant Williams to take the last shot?
A wide open
from that one corner.
By the way, a wide open corner three, 100%. I absolutely. It's a good shot. It's a good shot for him.
1 foot left or right, no.
Right.
If you remember Grant Williams' rookie season, I think it was in the bubble when I think maybe against Toronto, and he went to the free throw line and he shit himself. If you remember, at a key point at the end of the
Oh
game.
yeah, I remember that.
I mean, literally, he's a guy that
Didn't
did
he
not. He didn't want the referee to give him the ball. He literally didn't want him to give him the ball because he knew what was going to happen.
Hey, this is a slight tangent, but I sent this thing to you. There was a really fascinating interview with Jason Tatum and JJ Redick, and Tatum said something very obscure but very interesting about the bubble. When he was looking back on why the Celtics lost, he went back to that Toronto game that they lost at the last second. Remember? Taco, they failed to guard the inbound pass. They had been way up in that game, and they, instead of being up 3-0 in that series, it was 2-1, and that got tied and went to 7 games.
Yeah.
Tatum said that was the turning point of the bubble experience because they ended up playing like 3 more basketball games. And he said, by the time we got deep into that Miami series, we were done. We were cooked.
Yeah. Oh, that was the worst loss in a long time.
Awful loss.
What was it? Less than a second on the clock.
It was something insane like that. And I think it was OG Anunoby from about 20 feet.
You're right.
Had a wide open
Jaylen
shot.
Brown didn't defend him. He stayed near the basket.
And Brad did not, if I remember correctly, Brad did not put anybody on the inbounds passer.
Right.
Yeah. And then the next game, they had the situation. He brought Taco Fall out to put him on the inbounds passer because he realized how bad he screwed up.
Well, that was interesting. Yeah, I think that maturity-wise, that in the last few months, Jason Tatum has made great strides.
Yeah.
You said with the JJ Redick interview, which was in a lot of ways was very relieving. And we're learning that right now that Jason Tatum cares.
Yeah.
And we questioned that a few months ago.
Yeah. And he and Jaylen Brown are good. Like, he's like, we're good. We want to stay. Now, by the way, their mind could change next October, right? Like, let's not go too far. They're both under 25 years old, but he's like, yeah, Jaylen and I want to be here. We want to be part of the solution.
I think the
NBA... Jaylen has really come on since Derek White's addition too.
Yeah.
It's made a world of difference in Jason's attitude on the court. He's playing with a little fire now where, I mean, even at his best in the past, he didn't play a very fiery game.
Yeah.
Adam Silver is going to have to address the player movement like this. We cannot be continuing to have conversations every year about every player on the roster and will he be on the team.
Yeah.
And or are they all going to go to Miami or LA?
No, you're right, Scotty, that collective bargaining agreement had some unintended consequences. And the unintended consequences, these guys get, there is an advantage in the CBA that gives the incumbent team ability to pay a guy an extra year in more money. The problem is these guys get paid so much money that they're okay with forsaking that year. That extra year doesn't mean much to them.
No.
They've tried to put in a lot of rules to keep these super teams from happening, but the players are finding a way, and they're giving up. They're leaving money on the table so they can be happy together.
They are.
But they aren't, Joe, because, you go to a big market and next thing you know, their shoe contract increases incrementally.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They're giving up salary,
yeah,
and with the idea they'll make it up otherwise because if they're an NBA championship, they'll get a better shoe deal or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and so who are they serving right now? That's the problem. And that's what they talk about. They talk about these NBA players, their interested in their Instagram accounts, their Twitter accounts, and because they're making tons of money off those and stuff. When the game becomes secondary to all their other stuff, that's very dangerous. And the NBA is
that's Kyrie's problem.
Yeah, but I think that's a fraction of the superstars. I look at the NBA and see most of the superstars by far who are really invested in winning. I really do. There's a handful that you could say, point your finger at, but you go down these teams and you say, geez, these guys are invested in it. I give that league a lot of credit.
Say what you want about LeBron. He's all about winning and winning all the time.
No, true. Great point. But those guys have been in the league that they're in their 30s. I'm talking about the young players. Zion got called out today as just basically a guy who doesn't give a shit.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, look, there's guys who get too far ahead of themselves. Porzingis did, Zion did. I think, Anthony Davis didn't cover himself in glory, either. But, you got guys like Tatum and Brown have behaved incredibly well early on in their careers with respect to this sort of thing.
Yeah. Zion wants to be in New York. Why? I don't know. But that seems to be his thing.
Then we'll never hear from him again, Joe. I mean, you thought New York was in the playoffs last year. They won a round. You thought, okay, here you go. And then all of a sudden they're back to being the New York Knicks.
What Tom Thibodeau, you can't beat the Knicks.
No,
he wears out his welcome quick, doesn't he?
Oh, he sure does. Yeah, he won't be around after June, that's for sure.
But he's smart to get those 5-year deals.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden,
he's probably still being paid by 3 different teams.
No kidding.
I know, right? Oh my God, that's a sweet deal. That guy's gonna collect it. Yeah, he'll get fired, and then a couple years down the road, he'll get another 5-year deal for 40-50 million bucks. Unbelievable. All right, we go to the NFL first of all, and needless to say, the LA Rams. You didn't exactly have. I know that they come from a big market, but nobody's waxing poetic about the LA Rams as a Super Bowl team, right? I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs was huge, of course. Always the Patriots, but the Rams, isn't it crazy coming from the second biggest market in this country, and it feels like they're the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Did you see their pep rally? They compared before the game. Cincinnati did their pep rally, and they sold out the stadium in Cincinnati. They had a pep rally for the Rams, and the only ones who showed up were like friends and family. No one showed up. It was free admission into that brand new stadium. People would get to go in to see that new stadium.
Scotty, you know this better than anybody.
No one went.
That's not how those people roll out there.
No. How can you have a parade, Russ, in LA? Because there's no center.
Where do you do a parade?
And the streets are so freaking big. Yeah. I mean, it was just bizarre. Yeah, they showed the parade route, and there were times there was nobody there. There was literally no one. Zero.
I mean, by the way, the franchise has been around a long time. There's history on it. But probably the moving around and the fact that they ended up in LA and they've only been in LA for a few years, it just doesn't have traction. And by the way, just how they've built that team, that team's not going to win 3 out of 4 Super Bowls because they're going to have to.
That's mercenaries.
Yeah, financially, they're just not going to be able to hold it together. So. They got their Super Bowl in LA. That owner really needed one because he has to fill that stadium.
Well,
and the Chargers aren't doing it for him.
No.
Rams became one of my favorite teams growing up, and I know you know why. Heaven Can Wait, one of my favorite movies.
Oh, it's a great movie.
If anyone in the audience,
and that was a remake.
Yep, that was.
Don't even talk about any remake.
That was a remake.
Oh, okay.
That was a remake.
The original was a remake of a 40s.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
All right. But Julie Christie.
Who was the woman in Heaven Can Wait?
Julie Christie.
Julie Christie, that's right.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The Rams were my favorite team growing up other than the Patriots.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The Rams are easy to have as a second team because they don't inspire a lot of passion either way. Just like, I'd like the Rams.
Great uniforms, the blue and gold there.
And also you can call them your own. I mean, you're in New England and you're wearing like a Rams jersey. 99.9% of people aren't going to know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Second of all, it's not like you have to share it with anyone.
No one will get mad at you.
Yeah. Nope. Remember Vince Ferragamo? They went to the Super Bowl. Was it against
in the Super Bowl in 78? They got their brains beat in by the Steelers, right? 78, 79.
Yeah, that was an upset, them being in there, right?
Yeah, very much.
I loved Jack Youngblood, right? Remember him?
He was tremendous.
The old fearsome foursome.
That's right.
Became the Kennedys. Deacon Jones became Robert Kennedy's bodyguard.
Rosie Greer.
Yeah. Oh, Rosie Gray.
Rosie Gray was him. Yeah, he tackled Sirhan.
Right.
There you go. You don't get when Bobby Kennedy got assassinated. And
Yep.
to the day he died, he felt like he could have taken Sirhan down. Not that he could have, but he regretted it. And it weighed on him very heavy. He was a remarkable guy. Remember, he was an actor too.
Oh, great actor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love Rosie Gray. I mean,
all sorts of stuff.
he
Yeah.
was iconic. See, look at us with a little Rams talk. How about us?
Talk.
All right, Jason.
Real Rams talk, not this team.
Jason, so it's time. It's franchise tag time, boys. You know how that works.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll franchise tag Joe, Russ, to make sure he stays on the show.
We
I'll
should.
take 17 million a year.
I'd only franchise him for a third round tender, however.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, does J.C. Jackson get tagged, boys?
I think he's gonna get tagged, and I think they're gonna trade him.
Wow,
I think J.C. Jackson's getting traded. Yeah.
Wow.
Too much money.
That's a hot take.
Too much money for Bill to pay for a cornerback who, I mean, he's very good, but he's not Darrelle Revis or Stephon Gilmore at his height.
You couldn't get a first round pick, right? Probably what a second.
Maybe you could probably get close to a first rounder, a high second rounder. Sure.
If you had to get a first rounder, because not only would they have to give up the draft capital, they also had to pay top dog salary.
Yeah.
So you don't get as much in draft capital.
Well, needless to say, if the Rams had a first round pick, I'm sure they'd give it.
Sure would. Yeah, they don't have a first round pick until 2035 or something like that.
All right, Joe, what do you think?
About what now?
Franchise tag for J.C. Jackson.
I think it's possible, but I think it's more likely that, given the history lately, they've been letting the guys go explore the market. If the market's there for JC, he'll go. And if he comes back saying it's going to only be about 17, 18 million a year, they'll pay him.
All right, I don't think they risk that. I think they're going to definitely put the tag on him because they want the option of what they want to do. That obviously gives them a chance to continue to negotiate with him. And like Russ said, it's the ability to trade him, And I think if they were able to get a first round pick, they would trade J.C. Jackson. Yeah.
Right.
And I'd be all for it, because I think that, if you see that Super Bowl, cornerbacks didn't win that game.
No, I mean, we all have seen some great cornerbacks. Ty Law was a great cornerback. Gilmore was great for a few years. Revis was great for that year.
That 1 year.
J.C. Jackson's a very good quarterback. He's not a great cornerback.
No. Did you find during the season, do you feel like they avoided going to his side?
I don't know.
Not particularly, but then he's a different kind of corner. He's not the, he kind of just mirrors guys' moves, and that's why he's always in place to make the pick.
Yeah.
That's why he's always got tons of picks, because usually he's facing forward.
Yeah, look, for me, what I would love to see in the Patriots defensive backfield are multiple guys who can play man-to-man defense. Like they've been a much better defense over the last 5 years when they've been able to play man-to-man. And
agreed.
And they've got to figure that out because they just don't have the athletes across the board to be able to play zone. They're not fast enough to play zone defense.
Jalen Mills, what grade would you give him for this season?
C+.
Yeah, something like that.
But Jonathan Jones, he's definitely not a number one. He's not a number one corner, though, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, you don't have if you trade J.C. Jackson, the question for me is, okay, Russell, you want to trade J.C. Jackson? Who in the holy hell is going to play cornerback for the Patriots? And I don't have a great answer for that. You're going to have to go find people.
Is Devin, Joe, I hear more stuff about Devin McCourty coming back to the team. Please tell them to stop.
Yeah, he'll be back, and they'll pay him more than he's worth. And just for the fact that he's like having a coach on the field. He's the great communicator out there telling people where to be, when to be, and how to be. And Belichick values that.
I saw somewhere they made a list of the players that needed a change of scenery. N'Keal Harry was for the Patriots. He needs a change of scenery. He needs to be working at
The
Wendy's.
Patriots need him to change the scenery.
He
He
could
doesn't
maybe
need to be in
get
the-
drafted by the new USFL or whatever. Like, I mean, that's what he needs to be is in the Arena League or the USFL.
He's not an NFL player.
No, he's not.
Some places, because he can't get separation. He
No,
cannot
he's just-
get it.
He's
What?
big
Yeah.
and slow. Like, I don't understand. For the life of me, I don't understand how they drafted him. He's so clearly just a big body that you should be drafting in the 5th round, not the
And
first round.
there's so many of those nowadays that you didn't need to go with him. There's plenty of 6'3", 220 guys playing wide receiver right now,
Right.
and they're all successful except him.
USFL, Maxie asked me about it. What's the pool that they're grabbing from?
Just guys that don't think they can make the NFL anymore. Guys that used to be in the NFL, practice squad type guys.
Oh, is that who they're doing? Is that how?
Yeah.
Is that who they're grabbing from? Yeah, I didn't even know. So
I know there's a bunch of expatriates.
So are there players who are eligible for this year's draft or no?
No,
Great
no,
question.
no.
I don't know if any players from who just ended this year were drafted. It's possible. Maybe there were guys from NFL practice squads who were drafted. That's a great question.
Is this functioning as finally a true minor league? Who's
No,
running?
they say they're not a developmental league, a minor league of the NFL, but they are working with the NFL.
Who runs it? It's not our wrestling guy, is it?
Hope it's not Bill Polian again. That last league lasted a week.
It's not the wrestling guy, is it?
No. He was the XFL, and that's
Right.
coming back this year too.
It is. Oh,
It's third incarnation. Yeah.
a local team. Are we gonna finally have a local team in it?
No.
No. I wonder why.
They probably do. It's a great question. You'd think that you could put another team in New England. Like, why wouldn't you put a team in like Hartford?
Yeah,
Right. Like, wouldn't that be an obvious place to put sort of find a second city and put a team there that could draw from different parts of New England?
Well, how about Worcester?
Yeah, I was going to say Worcester, where they already got the new ballpark. Maybe it could be converted for football.
We probably more likely to play where does Holy Cross play, right?
That doesn't hold many people.
Oh, it
You're not going
doesn't?
to make any money there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
I remember
probably
the
a combination
Patriots
of facilities and market, right? And
Would be fun if you put it in Harvard Stadium. That draw enough, right?
yeah,
And Harvard Stadium's so easy to get to for so many people.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right. I don't know why, they have. I've never even heard talk about it, XFL or USFL. I mean, obviously USFL was many years ago with the Breakers, but I haven't heard about it. Have you?
yeah. No, I
Jim
mean,
Morrow
look,
was the coach.
I think
Right.
look, I think we'll check it out when they play, see if it's interesting, if the quality of play is good. But man, it's hard. I just don't.
Yeah. The NFL wants to use it like for like rules changes
Right.
and
Technology.
safety thing.
Right.
Yeah, so that they can see how it goes, without having to do the trial run on their own.
Right.
You guys, I know you guys remember the Breakers were fun. I used to watch
Yeah.
every game.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the first game, remember that? Oh God, it poured rain.
I know. I remember that. Where did they play?
Jeez, I can't remember. Was it BU?
I think was it? I think it was
Northeastern
BU,
or BU, I
I
think.
think it was BU.
Yeah.
I think I remember being a BU, and remember they had that it was old Braves Field there,
Yeah.
where that stadium was.
Nickerson Field. It's still there.
Oh yeah, they play soccer. That's right.
Yeah, right. When you're on the turnpike, you see it.
Yeah.
All right. It's draft projection time.
All right.
First of all, the what happened with the combine this week? The players who were refusing to go if they didn't get
Were
rid
in
of
a
the
bubble.
vaccine mandates.
They didn't want to be in a bubble.
And
They
then
weren't
the
going to be
NFL
allowed to leave their hotel rooms or anything.
So the NFL immediately caved. They
Yeah.
immediately caved, right? Like
You wouldn't even let them go to a restaurant.
this is
Yeah,
the
I
difference
mean-
between the NFL and the Major League Baseball. On this one,
Mm-hmm.
Major League Baseball, they would have just sat there forever and said, "Don't draft us" or something ridiculous.
Yeah,
Right.
it made no sense to have a bubble. The bubble rules were instituted like months ago when they were planning
Yeah,
it, and then
exactly.
things had changed, and it was no longer needed. But they still had those rules in place.
Well,
So-
the Patriots seem to be lucky in a sense that the draft seems to be a surplus. They seem to always say there's surplus of wide receivers. I think I've heard that for like the last.
You got to
3 to
pick the
5
right
years.
one, not Nikhil.
And there's never any, and not a lot of great wide receivers in the NFL right now. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, there aren't, like, I was trying to think the other day, like, what does the top 10 of the NFL receivers look like? And, there's some really good players,
A
some
lot
great,
of
couple of
teams
great
with
ones,
1-2 punches.
but
The Rams,
right.
Cincinnati, Dallas, Tampa
But there's
Bay.
a lot of teams that there are a lot of teams you'd say don't really have like a clear number one receiver, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot
That's
of
the
teams.
rare one. The the guy that can open it up.
Yeah.
Well, I felt like in the NFL playoffs, what was most glaring was how many catches were dropped by wide receivers during the playoffs. And I
Yeah.
thought it was real poor performances. And that's why, yes, Cincinnati, with Higgins and Chase, I mean, fantastic. Beckham
Yeah.
just blew out his ACL. So, he's an older guy. Who knows? That maybe is a career ender for him. I don't know. Would the Patriots be interested on taking him on short money because of his injury?
I think the fact that he's injured makes it more likely that the Patriots could try to get him. But like, if you're Odell, wouldn't you just go back to the Rams if they wanted you back?
Yeah, if they're willing to pay, because you would assume that they would pay the most, right?
Right.
So we talk about wide receiver. We talk about linebacker, which is a strong position, apparently. I like the whole idea of getting a speedy linebacker. Look, I would have taken
the kid from Georgia.
I would have been happy with Parsons for sure. That's the guy I wanted. I wanted us to trade up for Parsons or Mac Jones. That will go question. We had not.
Well, you want a middle linebacker. I'm more inclined to want the off the ball linebacker that can cover. To tell you the truth, like that kid from Georgia.
Well, I want a tackling machine. Would you?
Yeah, you want a middle linebacker. You want on the ball linebacker.
Would you rather have had Parsons or Mac Jones right now?
It's easy for me. It's Mac Jones. I mean, it doesn't even. It takes me 1/2 second to answer that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. It's so hard to say. I mean, Parsons, of course, had a better year, but he played a position that's easier to make the adjustment.
Of course.
To the pros. So much easier.
Yeah.
Quarterback is so hard to come in as a rookie. Just look at the problems all around the league every year with that.
Yep.
And you can find a Parsons. It's pretty tough to find.
If you can't find a Parsons, you can find a guy maybe who's 80% of Parsons or 85% of Parsons and do pretty well, right? So
you can go pick up a Von Miller during the season, and he can kind of be a Parsons, even though he's older.
Look, let's put it this way: you can't scheme around a crappy quarterback. You can scheme around a linebacker who's your best linebacker being 80% of Micah Parsons. You can scheme around that.
Yeah.
You just put him in the middle like Juwan Bentley. That's
right.
And those guys don't have long careers like quarterbacks do. All right. So who's the main need? If
I'm with you, Scotty. I think I would take speed, speed in the front seven. So for me, it's speed in the linebacking core. And whether it's a middle linebacker or an outside linebacker, I don't care. Or defensive end, a hybrid. Like, just give me somebody who can go sideline to sideline and make tackles.
Yeah.
Or if you have a big, quality nose tackle, that would make everyone look a lot better. And you'd have Barmore playing like a 3-4 defensive end. He'd be the next Richard Seymour.
Yeah, that'd be fine too.
No, that's nice, but I okay, definitely.
Well,
warrant
then
that.
you don't need a great middle linebacker, Scotty, because those two would clog the holes,
Yeah, I just keep on wanting, and it was very controversial that he didn't make it. Zach Thomas didn't make the Hall of Fame this year. I wanted Zach Thomas. I want that kind of guy who just 170 tackles a year.
Yeah.
London
and before
Fletcher.
I forget, congratulations to Richard Seymour.
Yeah.
Well deserved.
Great.
Again, another Hall of Famer that Bill Belichick traded. Kind of at the where was he in his career? He wasn't at the tail end, but
He was
got
late.
the best of him, right?
He was
He
late.
made the cardinal error. He talked contract in the locker room.
Well, he was late in his prime, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the Raiders got a couple prime years out of him, but he was late in his prime.
Yeah, I still regret that deal. I felt like I know they got a first round pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you have done that deal again?
I can't
was a
remember.
big Richard Seymour fan. I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah,
time or since, yeah.
I can't remember what the pick was, but my guess is the pick wasn't as good as Richard Seymour was for 2 or 3 years. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think Bill Belichick takes that back if he could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
And that was a crazy trade because,
Right at the start of the season.
yeah, well, it
It
felt
was
like
a Lawyer
Leon Gray.
Malloy trade, right?
Yeah.
It was a Lawyer Malloy kind of trade. Yeah.
Leon Gray. Think about Leon Gray. I'm going back in time.
Yeah.
Leon Gray, Malloy,
Yeah.
and Seymour, all at the beginning of the season, and it was shocking, all three of them.
Yeah. Hey, have you guys watched, because you're talking about Seymour, I just watched the Brady episode where they lost to the first loss to the Giants, and Seymour has obviously pretty big role in it. And it's the series is good. I give him credit. It's really good. And I actually relived for the first time that first Super Bowl loss. And the thing
Samuel.
the thing that kills me, Asante Samuel, but it's just they had Manning, Seymour and Green had Manning in their grips. Like you watch that in slow motion and you're like, how could they possibly have not taken him down?
I'm surprised the referee didn't call it in the grasp.
It was.
That's what everyone thought at the time, that they let up a little, thinking that we got to play to that whistle.
Oh man, it's just brutal. I mean, that play, that's as improbable a play on a football field as you'll ever see. That's right up there with the immaculate reception, because or even Edelman's play where one thing happened and those guys were able to catch the ball, the immaculate reception and Edelman's catch against Atlanta. But like 3 things had to happen for Manning to complete that pass to Tyree.
Yeah. And then the cherry on top being catching it on his helmet.
Off in his helmet, and Harrison's hand is literally through in the opening created by his 2 arms in the helmet, and just couldn't get the leverage to get the ball out.
I bet you he thinks about that every day.
And Asante Samuel should have been taken out back and shot for not catching that ball. Just shot dead.
It was like he did it on purpose. It was so bad.
It was There's Joe. Right? There's Joe. Here's our Joe.
I know.
It did. At the time I said, thick. How can you not catch that?
He whiffed, did he?
He jumped too early. Yeah. Brady says Brady was in pain in this episode. Yeah. And he was just like, he just jumped too early. He mistimed the jump, and you could see he's coming down. He was coming down while reaching up for the ball, and it just didn't sink it right.
Well, thanks for doing that. I'm now turned red. So this is I'm not watching any of that then.
That's very good.
Well, you see now Brady's going to have a feature film coming out about 51.
A movie with Jane Fonda, Rita Moreno, and Lily Tomlin called
Sally Field.
They all washed up.
Brady 80 or 80
my
Brady
God.
or something. Yeah, they all go to see him in a football game. They're all Patriots fans that go to see him in a football game.
Oh my God! This is
it's about Super Bowl 51.
I asked a friend of mine who's the audience for that, and he wrote back, "Your 81-year-old mother." That's about it.
Rito Moreno, isn't she not? I think she's 90.
I think she is too. I mean, I'm sure he was looking for Betty White, but the poor lady didn't make it that far.
She got away from him.
Oh my God, it's going to be so ugly for Tom Brady. I don't know if he should live another 50 years because it's just going to be so bad. He's
He'll
already
have to
done
dig
the
him up
movie
for his next film.
He's already casting Rita Moreno.
Yeah,
Jane Fonda.
I don't know. It can't be this. It's just it can't be possibly be good. But who knows? Who knows?
It might be so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Wait, when you want to ask that question, who knows? I know. Oh my.
Oh my God is right.
So saw something today. Damian Harris. Will Bill Belichick spend the money to keep Damian Harris? Does he ever?
He's not up this year. He's got at least another year
he's
on his
not,
contract.
Yeah, but they're saying after this year.
Who knows? That if he runs really well, maybe he does. But like I could see him if Ramondre Stevenson has a great year and Harris is just okay or gets injured again, he'd let Harris walk.
Yeah.
Well, I felt like
I think you kind of have to pay them. I think Stevenson's ceiling is higher than Harris's, but both of them play football. Both of them are going to get hurt.
Yep.
They're not like Sony's where he's going to be slipping tackles and running out of bounds. Both those guys push for the extra yard, and they're going to get hurt playing this game.
Yep.
Well, I think that it was a real disappointment that J.J. Taylor never saw the field. Clearly, they kept him on the roster. They got rid of Sony Michel because of Joe, and J.J. Taylor was nothing.
And Sony's wearing a ring.
Yeah, so that was a rough move, right?
Sony's got 2 rings.
I would have made a lot of money, Russ. I told Scotty this, but I put a lot of money on Sony scoring a touchdown and Sony scoring and the Rams winning and parlaying the patch.
Joe.
I know.
You have only yourself to blame.
He could just scored that last touchdown instead of throwing it to Cooper Kupp. I'd be in the cups, you know.
But you drove Sony out of town, Joe, and now all of a sudden you need
just so he could win that bet for me.
Just so he could win. All right, boys.
They had it all set up.
All right, we never saw JP's first son. I don't know where he is.
He fell asleep and apologized.
Too many people need ice melt with a big storm coming on the weekend.
Right. All right. We needs to.
He's got to schlep it around.
All right. Well, I want to, of course, thank Ian for all his great work behind the scenes. Want to thank the fellas. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune again next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.